For those of you that have just joined us, this is Warrior Women in Business podcast episode number 67. I'm going to share a little bit about Warrior Women in Business and our podcast for those of you that are not familiar, and then we're getting right into our show today. So my name is Jasmine Sandler. I am the host and founder of Warrior Women in Business. Warrior Women in Business is a member organization, podcast, conference, and event series, which I started in between 2016, 2017, because it started and stopped. And the entire reason I started this is because I've been doing digital marketing and branding forever. And I was speaking at a conference, a female executive conference, and I saw the need really for women to have a place, a community for female leaders to come together to help each other and create our future for female entrepreneurs. And since the beginning of Warrior Women in Business, the podcast has really grown. I've had the most amazing guests on, as well as today's guest, and run the conference in several states and now running events. And it's just been helping not just women in business, but we do a lot to support nonprofits and communities that we care about as well. So if you look at Warrior Women in Business, you'll see some of the things that we've done to raise money for different charitable organizations, including my last podcast guest, Julie Fisher, who is executive director of the New York City Charter School for Kids with Autism. She was fantastic. And we partnered with another organization that ran a concert just last Friday, which my band performed in, to raise money for the school. So Warrior Women in Business is not just another women's organization. We're very, very, very mission driven. The guests I have on are handpicked, and they're really people that I think are stellar women that are doing great things for the community and the world and want to help other women. So that being said, I just wanted to mention one thing we have coming up with Warrior Women in Business, and then I'm going to get right into Andrea Cataneo today. So we help women in business, female executives, female entrepreneurs, and women in the arts. And with Women in the Arts, we are a partner this year of the Women's Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp in Los Angeles, December 5th through the 8th. I'm going to be running a master class there on female branding for female artists, particularly around monetization. And this camp hosts Lita Ford, Nancy Wilson of Heart, and just the most amazing women in rock. So if you are a beginner musician or an advanced musician, if you really want to jam with these ladies, this is an awesome opportunity. It's awesome. I've
got someone to connect you with, Jasmine. More than one.
So Warrior Women is giving $350 off any package. So just check out Warrior Women in Business. The code is Warrior. It's going to be amazing. Please come. I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. So what's interesting about that organization is that they've been running the men's camp with like the biggest names in rock forever. And the women's camp is only in its third year, and it's already outpacing the men's camp. That says a lot about women in general. But anyway, so for today's guest, Andrea Cataneo. So Andrea actually had me on her show, Unblinded, which is such a cool show of leaders that come together, right? You can talk more about this. But what I found interesting about being a guest on that show was this kind of, crowdsourcing of wisdom across entrepreneurs and business leaders across different, industries that were kind of sharing their knowledge and their stories. And it was kind of like a quick think tank. I'll put it in that world. So she's a producer of that show, which is a very cool show. And she's also just a powerhouse warrior woman in her own right in terms of her work in the law, which she's going to talk about, and really supporting female entrepreneurs. So I asked Andrea to come on today to talk about all those things and share some wisdom and her advice with our audience. So first of all, welcome to episode 67, Andrea.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It is an honor and a privilege to be on the show with you. And I just want to acknowledge all you've done for women. And really, this platform is incredible. And as I've heard you speak just about how this came to be, I'm even more honored that I was selected to come on. So thank you, Jasmine.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. When I see someone, it's like, so I had Phyllis Wilson on from I keep promoting her because She runs the Women's Military Memorial Foundation.
Oh,
And we actually created a shirt and we're trying to raise money for her foundation. So I actually went there and did a tour. And I think every woman needs to do that tour. Every woman. And I reached out to her because when I see someone who's really interesting and is a leader that normal female executives haven't heard about,
yeah.
I'm like, this person needs to be showcased.
You're giving them a platform.
But they're just like, just to me, they just stand out, and you stand out. So it's easy. So with that, I want to share your bio so that you all get to know a little bit about Andrea. So she has 25 years experience as a corporate and securities attorney, very male dominated industry. So I love that we're going to talk about this today, and over 200 capital market deals. Pretty impressive. She's general counsel of Unblinded and executive producer of The Heart of Influence. She excels at building strategic partnerships and ecosystem mergers, leveraging her experience and entrepreneurial spirit, which is obvious to me, to drive growth. As a board member of the National Investment Banking Association, she's dedicated to fostering leadership, hence Warrior Women, that creates meaningful impact. So there's a lot here to uncover, and I want to kind of get into this. So again, thanks for joining us. I'm always interested on how people choose their paths in life and in business, right? Like for me, I swear to God, I was 6 years old and I was watching a commercial on TV and I said, that's what I want to do, not knowing that meant I love advertising. And I do. I love the message. I love the voice. I love the colors, the brand. I didn't know that then, so everybody comes from different backgrounds. I always find that so interesting. Like, why did you choose this path, Andrea? And what was your reason? So let's start with your career. Let's start with law school. Why did you choose law school? And why did you choose securities law? And also, can you explain what that is? A lot of my audience they don't even know what that is. To talk about what is securities law. Why did you choose it? Where are you from? Tell us.
So I'm from Randolph, New Jersey, Morris County, New Jersey. Been a Jersey girl my whole life. Parents are from Brooklyn. I won't get into their past, but fascinating blend, and very lucky to have the family that I've had. Now, that said, middle child, wasn't particularly driven in high school. I had, I don't know, I guess I was kind of focusing on other things and got married very young. And, you look at where I wound up being an equity partner at a major law firm. Right after high school, I went to a community college and I was dating a guy 10 years older than me and really on my way to a life that looks nothing like the life I wound up with. But I don't know, I just sort of I think I had met a few lawyers. I had this inner drive. If they can do it, I can do it. And it really wasn't until I was married with a young daughter when I decided to go back to school, and I excelled. I just made great connections. And when I was pregnant with Kayla, I had already gotten into law school. I decided, hey, I want to be a problem solver. I want to do something where I could make a good living, be a problem solver, do something from home, and be that role model. And I got to tell you, Jasmine, I rolled quite a bit because back then nobody was lawyering from home. And my whole
when you said that, I thought that was interesting.
my whole
Like,
my whole
from
circle.
home.
Yeah, exactly. So, here I am, sadly, I told you I got married young, wonderful dad to my kids, but our marriage wasn't really working out. So I was divorced by the time I was studying for the bar. And I had borrowed all this money, and I just believed enough in myself and wanted to, like I said, be a good example for my daughters. And I just knew I was going to figure something out. I just had that, feeling that if other people can achieve things, then why can't I? And I think some of that comes from, I had an older brother, and if he could do it, I could do it. Anything he can do, I could do better. That was just sort of the way I rolled. But I kind of stepped into securities law. I had initially been a music lawyer, believe it or not. I don't know if you even knew that.
You know what? I love you even more.
So my brother
That
contract.
is so cool. Like I always say, if I didn't do this, I would have been a music lawyer. I think that's just
Oh,
the coolest job,
yeah, I met so many
right?
fascinating people. I just love music. You know, my father was
Yeah, and
an
music and
amazing
law
singer,
together, I talk a
dynamite.
very, very interesting. So go ahead.
So my brother, you know, and this was not how the interest in music came to be, but he was a professor at
Mm.
Juilliard for 25 years. I don't know if you know
Oh,
that
right,
either.
you
So
did tell me
real
this.
piano
Right, you
man,
did tell me this.
and, you know, learned to play by ear when he was 4 years old. So super talented.
Mm.
And I had a summer associate position my second year of law school. That's when you get a summer job that's paid, and you're lucky if you're at a firm and you potentially be hired
Yeah.
by them thereafter. And
Mm.
I wound up getting introduced to Power Station. Tony Bon Jovi had some problems that I helped
Oh yeah,
solve,
Power Station.
and they followed me. So after my clerkship, they hired me, which was really a great opportunity for me to get familiar with an industry that I initially really loved. But it started involving travel. It started involving I need to be in the city every day. I had two little
Yes.
girls at home, and
Oh,
I was so lucky. And you know what? I believe that the universe works in ways that make sense. I do. I don't think that things happen by accident. And
mm.
I was introduced to a guy who was getting ready to retire, who was a corporate securities and tax attorney, and I'll tell you what that is. But he was helping Power Station in a capital raise, and since I was on
Mm.
their legal team, I was helping. I was helping with document drafting. And suddenly I started realizing I was good at doing this type of work and I could do it from anywhere.
Mm.
So Rick started talking with me about, we're thinking about retiring soon. And you're so good at this. I mean, what do you think about us maybe teaming up? And this was all transparent and above board. Tony was thinking of selling the studio and, you know, relocating to Florida. So it couldn't have been better timing. And
Mhm.
here I am, this fortunate person who has someone who is licensed in 7 states and was my mentor. And he at that time was like pushing 70 years old, but
Yeah.
loved deals. He loved deals. So what is a securities lawyer? It's a lawyer who works with companies that are selling little pieces of themselves to raise money. So you've heard of stock, you've heard of preferred stock, you may have heard of bonds. I mean, there are all types of securities that can be sold in order to raise capital. And I was
Mhm.
primarily working with companies that ultimately wanted to go public,
Yeah.
or maybe in a few years wanted to be acquired. And
Mhm.
without having to borrow money and have to pay it back, especially, you know, if a company doesn't want to be at risk of, like if it's a secured loan, of losing their asset or their intellectual
Yeah.
property, because they have to put a lien on something, right? It could be very
Yeah, that
scary.
would do it.
Selling equity, if you've watched Shark Tank, right, you get a feel for what
I
someone
worked
thinks
with
the
Kevin
company's
O'Leary,
worth.
actually.
Yeah, so I do a
I
lot of Shark Tanky work. You know,
Mhm.
I would represent the companies.
Yeah.
So Rick Fox, that's the name of, he sadly died last year, was my mentor. And that's how I wound up in securities law. I took a course called Securities Law for the Non-Securities Lawyer. And the next thing you know, I'm working under a master, someone who spent 40 years in the
That's
industry,
so great.
learning from the best, working from home, you know, being on the phone, connecting people. And I, I'm not exaggerating. In a year and a half, I had built almost a $2 million practice.
Wow.
And this was, again, it wasn't like it fell in my lap. I worked hard, but I had the good fortune of being receptive to help. So I had a really good mentor. And once I got a feel for, oh, I can not only help these companies with their documents and help them on a going public strategy, I don't have a lot of overhead. I can give them a
Mm.
flat fee and take part of my fee in stock if I think their company is,
Yeah.
you know, really worth the risk.
Yeah.
And Jasmine, that entrepreneurial spirit of mine is what helped
Right.
me have a few and I aligned my success with my clients. So that it was empowering because I had a few deals that did really well. I was able to pay off my house, pay off all of my student
Wow.
loans, take my it was empowering. Once I did that once, I thought, I know this isn't going to happen all the time, but
Mm.
I believed in myself enough. And that's when I started scaling. That's when I wasn't able to go on vacation from my basement. So I connected with a wonderful boutique firm. And you know what I
Ah,
told them, Jasmine? I
mm.
said, you know what? I can only come in Wednesdays. I'm going to work from home the rest of the day. Nobody was doing that then. Nobody
That's
was doing
amazing.
that then.
Right, yeah.
And I said, just look at my numbers, okay? I
Yeah.
don't have to be
So
there.
that's what they want you for, your
Yeah, I
producer.
have young daughters. When I come in
Yeah.
on Wednesdays, that's when I'm going to invite clients in. That could be when we sign them, maybe sign retainer letters. And that was the kind of deal that I worked out. So that's
Yeah.
kind of how I got into it. It was really, um, it happened for a reason, but it sort of happened not in the traditional way. I didn't go to law school at the traditional age. I was a few years older, but I knew what I wanted to do. And from music to securities law, who knew that was going to happen? But gosh, I just like you do, I love entrepreneurs who are doing good things in the world. And
Yeah.
that's what I was attracted to. And yes, women, there are not enough women CEOs. There are not enough women who are getting financed. The numbers are significantly lower of female-led companies that go public. And so I'm very supportive whenever I can be, and I showcase these women whenever I can.
Do you get involved with how, do you get involved, and if so, how do you get involved with the female startup community? Are you involved with any of the 37 Angels or any of the angel funds?
No, I'll tell you, I'll fast forward a
Or
bit.
more on the latter end, just to
Yeah,
understand
it's
where you.
usually the companies that I had traditionally gotten involved in for the 25 years where I was very in deals. They were more established companies
Okay.
because my network, the investors were looking for an exit within the next 12 to
Right, so you're
24
in the
months
later end, the
tops.
mature end.
Yeah, a little bit later, like 5 years
Yeah.
in business, generating
Yeah, okay.
revenues, has maybe some assets, some IP.
Mhm.
But the earlier stage companies, I did a lot of pro bono work with early stage companies.
Yeah,
I would at Shepherd Mullen do a lot of that work where I would connect with these earlier stage companies, and I would find a place for them to go and connect them with angel investors just because I thought they had something to offer. And a lot of them wound up, when they started doing well, coming back to me. So you
Right.
do good without an expectation of receiving something in return. And it often comes back to you in beautiful ways. And if not them directly, they'd refer me business. So I help and serve whenever I can.
So what are you doing now in the
Uh,
law?
thanks for asking. So I spent 14 years at a boutique firm that this was the firm I plugged into and said I could only come in on Wednesdays. They were number one, no exaggeration, for 13 consecutive years in
Wow.
doing PIPE transactions, private investment in public equities. We filed a registration statement with the Securities and Exchange Commission every single day. So very busy firm.
Wow.
We were
Incredible.
fewer than 40 lawyers. And
Yeah.
I was the first woman lawyer there, although one of the partners said, no, we had a woman lawyer before you. Yeah, well, it wasn't when I was there. And I was the first woman equity partner. And that was a wonderful experience to be in that busy environment and being rolling up our sleeves, and they were entrepreneurial like I was.
Yeah.
But when it came time to maybe looking at other practice areas, a few of us were one of the founding partners. We were looking for a little bit more, and we were casually browsing, and we were ultimately recruited by a big law firm. So I spent 8 years in big
Oh,
law,
I see.
more
Okay.
bureaucratic, less entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Great experience. I mean, I have no regrets whatsoever, because how nice is it to have all these other practice areas, and I wouldn't have to give that business away if a client had a complicated tax issue or an employment issue or a patent prosecution. I would be able to, and my big firms, able to find teammates and so on. But to get to what I'm doing now,
Yes.
about 4 years ago, I was invited to a show, the show that you were invited to by me. And the Heart of Influence used to be called The Real Raw. That was the predecessor, but it was the same
Oh,
show.
okay.
So if you were to go back, this show has been on 1,400 times. Did you know that?
Yeah.
And we've had 8,500 guests. I
No,
think
I had a good sense that it's been around a while.
yeah. So I was invited to a show. I met some great people. I learned a bit about influence, and I was intrigued. And I wound up joining the program, and in not a lot of time, just elevating my own self mastery, because that's what we teach.
Yes.
Influence mastery, how to go from hello to yes with integrity, giving more than you ever expect to receive in return, being fully transparent, and in your process mastery. Like, you have to any successful entrepreneur has good processes. Like you are playing hockey every morning. I know you want to shoot that goal. You have habits and processes that work for you, that get you going. And I'm sure you're super organized. Imagine if there were some things that you could do that would tighten up your time frames even more and make
Yeah,
you even more efficient. So I learned these techniques that are it's like an advanced science. If you do these things, they work. And I'm not exaggerating.
that's
Within a
wonderful.
few years, I 2.5x'd my practice.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was doing well. I had plateaued. I had like a
Yeah,
lot
I
of, I had
understand.
business coming in.
Mhm.
I didn't realize that some of the things that the Unblinded formula teaches, those were the reasons why I had like 3 stellar years. Like, why were those years so much better than the others? And
That's
now suddenly I'm
interesting.
having this catapult. It was, oh, I had more speaking engagements. Look at that.
Right,
And
of course.
I co-hosted more events. And
Yeah.
when you realize that
Certain activities, yeah.
if you deliberately time block for casting that wider net where you can be out like like this is your
Well, obviously.
platform. People
Yes.
are going to get to know us a little bit.
Yeah.
And by all means, I want to, become available to people. You want to learn more from me, learn about this show that is a virtual networking platform where you not only meet people that I curate 6 to 8 people that don't know each other that I
Yeah.
think can potentially do business together, and it's free. Like it's a no
Yeah.
brainer.
Yeah.
And
It's,
you learn about influence. You learn from the master. Sean Callaghan and Bella Verita are the co-hosts, and you could say from experience, they're engaging and fun, and then you get everyone's information. So how did I get here? After it started really working for me in a way that I was elated, I was invited to start producing a show a month, which I did as a little kind of side, I don't want to say a side hustle, but it was something that with the support of everyone knew I was doing it, it was on. Um, that's what contributed so much to my practice
mm.
elevating. I was
Oh, okay.
meeting people, I was inviting people that could be prospective clients for me, or who could maybe learn from each other. You learn from each other. You also learn, about the formula, which is a diagnostic methodology of, it's like almost like a culmination of every success book you've ever written, and it works. So
Mm.
when I started doing a show a month, and I started getting the recognition from many as being, oh, Andrea, your shows they're so good. What is it that you're doing that are making your shows so different? And Jasmine, it's all about the people. Like when I invited you, it was with purpose, because of you're a purposeful, mission-driven person who wants to do good in the world. I'm not
Mhm.
going to invite anyone who doesn't have that as a baseline. And I want to connect people who could potentially do things together. So after having so many successful shows, and then kind of segueing into, for a while, I was representing Unblinded and Callaghan Law at MSK. There were so many things, so many ways we were
Mm.
connecting because our
Yeah.
values were overlapping. And
Mhm.
for about 18 months, we were talking about, what more can we be doing together? And
Right.
I loved the firm I left. In fact, I just had a wonderful conversation with Nimish Patel. He was the head of the capital markets team. We still have a great relationship. I've left some good clients there. They're now handling a matter for Callaghan Recovery. I'm the chief ecosystem officer and partner at Callaghan Law, in addition to being executive producer of
Oh, wow.
general
Okay.
counsel. And they're
Mhm.
related, so I have lots of roles. But
Yeah.
I love my old firms. I have good relationships. But what I'm doing now, Jasmine, I just know that I am really in a place where I could have more impact and
Mhm.
watch companies build, scale, and grow with tools that absolutely I know work. And
Mhm.
this has really lit me up in terms of my entrepreneurial spirit, because we're building companies. People
Yeah.
who come in and join our certification program, we're building companies with them. And frankly, big law firms are not as comfortable with being as entrepreneurial.
Right.
And
Of course.
they care a lot more about, hourly billing and things.
Yeah.
And this became so attractive to me because I
Mhm.
know I'm making a difference in the world. I know that with the companies that we help, we're helping them build, scale, grow. And it's all about integrity-based human influence. So it
Mm.
makes me happy to get up every morning and do what I do.
No, that's amazing, really. I mean, you're talking about the change, and it sounds like a change in mindset and a change in process. So let me ask you this. So how do entrepreneurs start to approach their processes, approach their challenges,
Good question.
right? Because they're challenged.
Yes.
I think I wrote something about this today. I've had the
Yeah.
longest day today, but I think that I wrote something about challenge. So I saw something,
Mhm.
it's not, people always say, oh, isn't it the best thing to be a business owner? I'm like, it's very difficult. I'm very honest, straightforward.
Yeah.
And you need to have a process and a process
Absolutely.
that works, but you also have to have a process that can be prepared for breaks in the process, right?
Yes.
And changes
Yes.
and obstacles. So talk to us about this. This show is about
Sure.
advice, right?
Yeah. So process mastery is one of the pillars of the Unblinded formula. And,
Mhm.
I don't want to oversimplify anything, but it really is. Einstein once said, make it as simple as possible, but not simpler. And
Mhm.
that's what this formula is. It's completely diagnostic and covers everything. So process mastery, and this pertains to anyone in business, anyone in life. First step is model someone who is doing it the way that you want. You want their results. You want model somebody. Have a model in mind. And
Great.
next, this is going to sound obvious. Time block. Time block.
Time
Do
blocking is difficult. So
Oh, okay. But it is, if you're having difficulty time blocking, then you may have some issues in your self-mastery. And in your self-mastery, how do you
Right.
get yourself to do the things? How do you get yourself to do something you don't want to do? One of the ways, and this might sound, you've heard this from me already.
Mhm.
I'm up to 800 push-ups in a day. Now, why would I do that? And why am I, should I show you my muscle? Yeah, I will.
Yes,
Here.
bring it on, Amy. Bring on the
Okay.
muscles. This is the warrior women.
So my
Bring it in.
800
See, I
push-ups a
told
day
you. I knew you'd be the
is
warrior woman.
I'm 61. I could do 800
What?
push-ups in a day. I have 5 grandkids.
No.
Yes, yes. It is not about the bragging rights. It is about putting endorphins and good drugs into my body all day. I do it
Yeah.
throughout the day. That's how you get yourself to do the things. When we all have cortisol rising, and we all do, it happens. It could happen first thing in the morning when you wake up, like, how am I going to get this all done? I took on
Yes.
too much. What should I
Yeah.
do first? I'm over
Yeah.
chunking. I don't know what.
That is it.
That overwhelmed feeling is cortisol. And if throughout the day you give yourself the gift of, like, I really don't want to get on the floor and do as many push-ups as I can, try it. I implore you to try 10, 12 times a day, get on the floor and do as many of something as you can in 2 minutes, whether it's push-ups, crunches, full body weight squats. And the side benefit is you get stronger and
I know, it's the
feel
best, isn't it?
healthier. And you don't have to go to a gym. I'm too busy to go to a gym, but the um, way I feel after I do my push-ups, I feel like I got this. And why shouldn't I? Dopamine,
And it
oxytocin,
clears your brain.
endorphins. It is giving yourself throughout the day. Don't just do it in the morning. Like, I encourage people to try that, because that's one of the destroyers of self-mastery, letting the cortisol build up and then you're like stuck. So I'm getting
Absolutely.
unstuck throughout the day. So that's how I follow my and honor my time blocks. So what am I time blocking for? For very specific things. I got meetings throughout the day that are scheduled. But what about if I
Yes.
time block for future things? Like I said something earlier about how speaking engagements changed my life. Doing more speaking engagements led to more sales meetings. All we
That's
all
right.
need, if we want to increase our disposable income, whether you call it a client, strategy session, whatever you call it, the opportunity where you're with someone who's thinking about hiring you and you're having that
Yeah.
conversation where they can hire you, that's a sales
Be
meeting.
smart.
You have more of them, you're going to have more clients. Even if your
Yes.
influence stays exactly the same, even if you don't even get better at your influence, which, by the way, we teach here. So you can get better at conversion. But so how do you get more sales meetings? Time block for things like, oh, I'm going to do some research on LinkedIn and see if there are associations or stages that I could speak on. Who could
Yeah.
be a good ecosystem merger partner for me? What organizations? Like, I have, in my field of 25 years, the microcap space, stock transfer agents, investment bankers, accountants, independent auditors. These are groups, these are professions where we do a lot together. We have
Yeah.
similar clientele. Why don't we
Yeah.
co-host an event and both
Right.
speak a little bit? And then after we speak, have a call to action and say, free consultation to the first 30 people who
Yeah.
want to talk with me about the issue I brought up, which was a problem I solved recently, or there's a regulatory change, and suddenly people say, oh, I want to talk with Andrea. She knows what she's talking about,
Absolutely.
and they're coming to me, as
Mhm.
opposed to seeing someone at a conference, passing around a
It's how
business.
you create, and it's how you create that relationship.
Yes.
as
So
well.
the time blocking is this part 2 of process mastery. And then what do? You take a
Wait,
look
I
at
have
your
a question.
numbers.
A question
Yeah.
on process. I want to get back to just
Yes.
more about I love what you're talking about 100%. I just have a question around the business
Yes.
process. The business process, how entrepreneurs approach because you are right. There are a million things to do as an entrepreneur every day.
Yeah.
And how you're a million% right. How do you time block it?
Yes.
How do you keep your mental fortitude?
Yes.
100 trillion%, right? I get it all of this, but on a little bit of a more macro level for the audience.
Yeah.
How did they, like I always look at in grad school, I always said, when I get out of here, I'm going to run a business like McDonald's. I always said that because they have a process, right, for the business. So how do the smaller female business owners, they might be a solopreneur, they might have 10 people, they might have 100, 200 for how do you teach business owners how to look at a process for their business when they're an entrepreneur, which is, I think, a big difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur. I talk about this a lot on the show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, an
Yeah,
entrepreneur can be like the early stage idea person, I suppose, but you want to be an owner, and not necessarily the operator in time. You want to duplicate yourself so that you could be that owner and not the operator and vary. But what I'm going to kind of get back to, because your question is so good, about on the business side, but the interesting answer is it's all the same thing, because step 3 of process mastery is maximization through measuring and monitoring. So as the business owner, what's their outcome that's desired? They probably need new clients, right?
Sales.
Right. They want new clients. So how do they get more clients?
Course,
Okay. So they time block for things that make sense. Who can I partner with, who I could co-host an event with, where we can share some valuable content? Or maybe there are things I should be doing on LinkedIn that I'm not doing now. So time blocking for these outward reaches of things that are going to have you recognized as an authority or a thought leader.
Right.
And have a QR code, here's how to learn more, free consultation, and it can't be a zillion. You're busy. The busier you are, honestly, the better. Because if you have some, what we call integrous scarcity, you're busy. That makes you on a higher plane, in my opinion, and the opinion of others. Setting up this podcast, it was many, many weeks in advance. It's not like you called me and said, hey,
months.
come on tomorrow. You're busy. So that level of, having that level of preparedness and being deliberate about how you block your time, and then your maximization through measuring, monitoring, what's working, what's not working, how am I getting to these additional sales meetings, and then optimization. Optimization is everything. So you may say, you know what, that outreach that I didn't really work. Maybe what I have to do is find some other potential ecosystem merger partners, or maybe I need to hire somebody. That's really where I'm having some issues. I'm so caught up and it's a chicken and egg situation, but know your outcome. Do what Stephen Covey. Remember Stephen Covey, the 7
Of course.
habits I loved him. He was a spiritual guy. I was sorry when he passed. What Sean Callaghy has done, I tell you, is he's incorporated everything that makes sense into this simple formula. The well begun is half done. Let us just make sure we're kind of learning what's working and what's not working. A lot of these are truths. Don't even think of them as, oh, this is one person's idea versus another. These are just common things that are just the truth. And in business, if you know what your outcome is, start with your outcome in mind, right? work your way, reverse engineer it. Okay, how do I get there? I only have, so a good question to ask, Jasmine. Again, a lot of times when I say this, people are a little bit taken aback, like, really, it's that easy? If I ask an entrepreneur or a business owner who has a business that's kind of struggling and they're trying to get new clients while they're trying to service it, and it's not an uncommon problem, I might ask, so how many sales meetings are you having a month? And maybe their issue is they need to raise money. So how many meetings with investors are you having a month? Whatever it is that they're looking for, breaking it into a numerical analysis makes it easy to tackle, right?
Yeah, it's the best.
And
Data's
yeah, data is king. So if we know that if you have more sales meetings, you're gonna have more sales and you'll have more disposable income. How do you get more meetings? You do the time blocking for the things that make sense, that cast the widest possible net, you know,
Right.
that give you that, you know, thought leadership, that hierarchical primacy. That's a term when I first heard it, I said, what? But, and the hierarchy of, I'm on the podium and I'm going to share with you some things that I think may or may not resonate with you, but I know my audience, I'm bringing some valuable content. More likely than not, a lot of the people are going to be intrigued. I want to make them curious. I want to provide something in integrity. I want to provide something of value and then say, love to chat with you more if you're interested. And I'm in complete transparency. I'm not exaggerating or giving a false sense of scarcity. I only have so much time. So I can, for the, I don't know, first 10, 20 people, I have a consultation I can give. After that, it's going to probably be after the first of the year, something like that. And then suddenly you've started as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, whether you're raising money to fulfill whatever your objectives are to grow the business, or you're looking for clients, it's kind of all the same thing. Your self-mastery, how to get yourself to do the things, your process mastery, and you're always optimizing. That's really the key. Analyze your numbers, what's working, what's not working, optimization. And then the fun of all of this, and this is so much of what the show is about, it's, we all need yes. Right? We all need yes. How do you go from hello to yes with integrity? And this is where you and I have so much in common. I want to work with people who have a growth mindset. I want to work with people who want to make the world a better place and who are transparent and honorable. And I also want to work with people, as corny as this sounds, who love people. I love people. I want to serve. I want to make a difference and have impact. And those are the people that I'm attracted to work with. And how delightful is it that these are the people that I get to work with. So I can invite someone on a show. I can connect them with people. If they have needs, if they want to do a deal on the Callagee law side, of course, I would love to help them with that. I sit on the board of the National Investment Banking Association, so I love to make connections. But let's say they want to learn more about what we're talking about, you know, building, scale, and growing their business. And they want to learn more about what changed my life. It's all here. You know, it's all here. So there are so many ways that I can help. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. And that was great that you described all of that. And in the show notes, we're going to put links to everything. So that's
good.
So people can see the show and understand.
Oh my goodness. I will absolutely provide a QR code because I have very specific themes for shows. And, you know, depending on what someone's background is, I can put them on a show where they can meet people where I think it would be very beneficial.
Okay, great. I have a couple of and this Warrior Women in Business isn't just about women, you know, it's just about supporting, like you mentioned up front, which we talk a lot about in the show, is raising the numbers of more female CEOs, women on boards, helping to increase our salaries. For me, the most important thing, hands down, is women supporting each other to get to the next level. That's the whole purpose of everything. It could be a man that helps, you know, I mean, most of my clients are actually men, female executives of Fortune 50 companies that are supporting D&I initiatives at their companies, and they're just superheroes, right? But some women get involved with male-dominated companies and industries where they're suppressed. So I'd like to talk about this. As a warrior woman yourself in a very male-dominated field, securities law, which you mentioned, and potentially one where you may be close to some type of bad people, you have risk of regulatory issues. Has anything like this ever happened, or just can you explain this a little bit?
Yes. Yeah. So let me back up for a moment. I just want to be clear on, for those who don't know a lot about securities and securities law. When a company wants to raise money by selling stock, they either have to file a registration statement with the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is very expensive, but worth it. If a company can afford it and they're ready and they're, on a path to going public, or they have to rely on an exemption from registration. And if you rely on an exemption, you have to provide lots of disclosure. You've heard about this. Have you seen My Cousin Vinny? Disclosure. You got to provide,
I know about it from
risk
due
factors, and
diligence.
you've got to follow the rules. You absolutely have to follow the rules. I'm such an advocate to the issuer, the company that's raising the money. And full transparency, this was one of the questions I suggested you ask me, because
Right, I think it's an important.
yeah, it's an important one, but it's also, I've taken a little bit of, not a complete pivot. I'm still doing what I always did, but I'm so much more focused on, this other work that I think is more important. And it might have raised the question in some, like, what happened? Is it possible that Andrea got in some trouble? And absolutely not. I've never had a
Oh, right, I
issue.
understand. That makes
And
sense.
this is a dangerous, potentially risky industry to be careless in. If you make a little boo-boo, if you make a mistake, if you advise a client
Right, I
the wrong
mean,
way,
it
or
seems
if
like
on
the
your
SEC
watch.
is not something that you
Yeah.
want
So
to.
ultra careful all the time, warning my
Yeah.
clients at every turn. But it is definitely one of those industries. But yeah, I just wanted to get it out there that no, I still love that work. And I'm fortunate that as Chief Ecosystem Officer at Callaghan and partner, I can still be co-counsel on deals, but that's kind of taken a second seat to what I think is much more important work.
Because you're
And
driving impact. Absolutely.
yes, but what I will say about the importance of following the rules is, if you are a company and you're thinking of raising money, do not take a shortcut, and please connect with a securities lawyer, because it's so much less expensive to do things the right way. So much less expensive to make that, proper filing with the,
And probably you'll save time.
oh my God, yes, yes.
Because I refer a lot of business to lawyers. I mean, entertainment lawyers, business lawyers. When an entrepreneur is like, ask me 1,000 questions and I can answer them, but I'm not a lawyer, only because I've been in business so long. But I always say, don't try to do it by yourself, because you're going to end up spending time. To me, time is money. So I think
The cleanup,
absolutely. And when there's
so much
regulation
more.
involved, even more so, right?
Absolutely. You are so wise. You really are. As a businesswoman, as someone who I'm the 67th episode, but I know how much you're doing in the world of digital marketing, and it's so important, and you've seen a lot for sure. So I want to explore ways, of course, that we can do more to help each other, because my mission is not that different from yours. And I see lots of opportunities where we can help elevate women. And, the regulations now for companies, whether they're private or public, companies are required to have females on their board. They're required to have a more diverse board of directors. In certain states, if you have a board of private or public, you have a board of 5 people, you need at least 2 women. Thank God. That
I
didn't
know
exist for
it's
a
great.
while.
It's funny. Oh my God, so many things this week have pointed to women. I mean, I just voted, right? And I realized that there's a lot of women on the ballot. I mean, beyond president,
Yeah.
So, and then just in general, market research is another thing. Companies now need to represent women and women of color and minorities in advertising. And that's a whole nother area where I think I'm a marketer, right? But
Yeah.
I think that there could be some legal issues around that.
Of
Right.
course.
So I think that the two of us coming together and helping these companies is a no-brainer. But let me ask you the next question, because it's
Sure.
this is my favorite question to ask my guests, because this
Okay.
is why I do this show. So we talk a lot about leaders supporting leaders, because when leaders support, I see this, you mentioned I play hockey. I've seen guys on the ice in the locker room giving each other business like it's nothing. On the women's teams, you don't see that. And I always think that's a disservice.
Of
So,
course.
yeah. So we talk about leaders supporting each other and the importance of this to sustain women in top positions.
Mhm.
Where have you seen this work? Women supporting women. And if you haven't seen it work, how do you think that we can do a better job?
Mm.
Email.
I so love that you're showcasing this really important issue, because it's when it works well and I do it intentionally, you see results. I
Yeah.
go out of my way and have historically to represent women-owned or women CEO-led companies. Like I'm on the board of advisors of Naples Soap. In fact, you should be in touch with Deanna Wallen. She's an incredible CEO. I'm
Okay.
so impressed with what she's done. And sadly, these last couple of storms in Florida really hurt her two primary, waterfront stores. And this woman was a
Oh,
registered
is she on
nurse.
where is
Oh,
she?
yeah. All over 14 stores in the Naples area.
You know that I
So,
have an office there and I'm always there. I'm going to be there
oh, I
again.
didn't know that.
I just literally just came back from
Well,
going,
this
I'm
company is
always
doing
down there.
15 million in revenues. And this was just in the years of her rolling up her sleeves, prior registered nurse, recognizing a need for products that wouldn't irritate her daughter's skin. Her daughter had psoriasis and eczema.
Oh,
So, oh my
like
goodness,
for a soap for sensitive skin?
for sensitive skin, and these shampoos that are like shampoo bars that are not in these bottles.
For
A
good for your
shampoo
scalp,
bottle?
I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing for you. But I didn't know this. A shampoo bottle takes, guess how many years to biodegrade? You're not going to be able to guess because I was
All
floored.
right, I'm gonna guess. Can I guess?
Yes.
180.
400. You were close.
No,
We have
what?
an entire room at
I don't
NEVA.
know why I'm laughing. That's horrible.
400 years. Like
Now I'm
what?
depressed.
So
That's
she had,
horrible.
it's crazy, right? So she has
400
shampoo
years?
bars.
It takes,
She's doing,
for the
yes.
plastic bottle.
Yeah, it's a why, I mean, look, we could do a little bit. If we all do a little bit, maybe it's gonna help the problem. I think
You
we
know
all,
that plastic is being re-engineered, you know this, right? The plastics industry, I know this, I have clients in that industry,
good.
but the plastics industry is being re-engineered now. So I personally am very excited about this.
Me too.
Because I'm always looking at, because I have clients in manufacturing. So I'm always looking at sustainability and
Yes,
what is we're
hemp
doing.
is being used, and there are a few other, I have a few former clients, and there was a young entrepreneur who I met, I should follow up with her, who was doing something with plastics, and and the re-engineered plastics that,
I mean, something has to be done, so I'm
of
happy.
course, I heard recently that we all consume a credit card worth of plastic every day.
Really? You mean from drinking and eating out of?
From what we're exposed to. It could be the water we drink, it could be the Keurig coffee, it could be
Oh,
all
yeah,
the
okay.
foods that we eat,
God, that's
everything that
horrible.
we eat, fish, they're all consuming plastic. But anyway, it's unfortunate. And I'm like you, I'm happy that we're, moving in a better direction. But I have other women CEOs that I've represented and helped. And that is how you start the process and talking about it and raising the
Talking
awareness.
about it and doing
It's like
something.
where where you decide to put your energy is where you make change happen, right? It's like that in anything you do. You
You saw
decide
my
you're going to work
episode?
out.
Did you see my episode with Shannon Lee? Bruce
No,
Lee's
I guess I have to.
I have the coolest guests. So I read her book, and her show Warrior, which is on Netflix, HBO.
Oh, I
So
have to check
it's
her out.
all of, yeah, you should read the book. It's like really be like water. And it is so true. If you actually stop, like you were talking about what you do at the Heart of Influence with Unblinded, you stop and actually are mindful about these things, where you put your energy,
Yeah.
flow. It's unbelievable.
Right. That's really all it is. It's like, okay, I'm going to be deliberate about the things I do. I'm going to time block. I'm going to use heart and math. That's the combination. Imagine if you're
Right.
a caring, loving
It's like
person.
that's the perfect compliment.
Yeah. But yet a lot of people shy away from that. And if you're in business, you kind of have to learn how to love your numbers.
I love math.
Good. That's why you're successful. You
No,
have
I'm
to love
kidding.
your numbers.
Who doesn't? I love sales.
Yeah.
So many people say, "Oh, I don't want to do sales." To me, it's like going to the casino. It's so much fun.
Yes. It's even more
fun.
fun than the casino because the house
It's
always
so
wins at the
fun.
casino. And if you're smart and deliberate, you have 100% power over how well you do financially. How great is
Yes,
that?
nothing better. There is
Yeah,
nothing
there's
better.
nothing like it. So yeah, awareness, raising the awareness for women, putting energy towards it is how we do. Talking about it the way we are, hopefully it'll trigger other conversations. And you've inspired me to have a few shows. I can't show you because I have my background on, but on my wall, I have like my next 10 shows and what the themes are. I'm going to deliberately have some women CEO shows or women leader shows. One of the things I say, if someone were to ask me, Andrea, what is your vision, mission, and purpose? Because we all have one, hopefully. Hopefully we all are thinking about what is our why
I would
prime?
hope so.
Why is it that we do what we do? I want to be an example of possibilities for my daughters and my grandkids, that anything,
Yeah.
if I could do it, they could do it. But I also want to cause leaders to cause other leaders to merge ecosystems, because that is a shortcut to merge ecosystems so that one
Yeah, that's
plus
very
one
powerful.
doesn't equal two, it equals millions, potentially a trillion points of contact and impact, because we're talking about things that actually work. I know it sounds like hyperbole and what are all
Yeah.
these numbers, but if you combine, if you speak, you're accessing such a wider opportunity than just 1+1. So if I can cause leadership just by what I'm doing, just by example and consulting, training, coaching, and cause those leaders to cause other leaders, that's the ripple effect. And if
Yeah.
I'm focusing on helping women, and you bet I am, I could have several shows that are for, women leadership in industries where they could help each other, where they can be meeting each other. And yeah, they have to be reminded that the old boys network and, the guys that are in the locker room, they're all helping each other, and so should we. So should we.
100%. So should we. Pre-COVID, I ran my brand new conference and it was on female leadership. So 2025, I'm actually already planning that. And because we brought into Beverly Hills, which I love.
I do too. I want to come.
Beverly Hills. So I'm planning on doing that again. So Andrea, we could definitely sync up.
We must.
Doing
We
a female
absolutely
leadership
must.
conference, and it's something real, something
Oh my
very
God, we
much
could
about
have
the
so
cause.
much to say, so much to educate, things that could really be of value. And
Yeah.
if we do something together, here's another joy of that is I can invite lots of people like that you don't know, and you can invite people that that's the beauty of co-hosting something, is we are combining our beautiful
Audience.
ecosystems and relationship capital. That's a term that I learned at Unblinded. I only use that, and it's not in my Rolodex, it's not my notes, my relationship capital. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of investors. I know a lot of, industry leaders, that thousands that are valuable. I don't have millions of followers on Instagram. I'm hardly on Instagram. I think I need to start being on Instagram, but I do
I
have a
know.
big
It's like, oh, I need to
following.
help her with it. No, it's
But
fine.
we have relationship capital that we can leverage and help each other with, and that does that ripple effect. That does that big expansion where we could. So I'm excited to talk with things we can do
it's going to be
together.
fantastic. And I've been talking to this past year, I've been I've been talking to other female leaders, some that have been on the podcast, some we've been talking about events, and we're all so busy. So I said, okay, you know what? That's fine. Let's plan something for 2025. So now I have, like you talk about relationship capital, I have women that, I mean, they're doing amazing things in government, at global nonprofits that I'm hooked in with now.
It's awesome.
Just like it's a matter of timing that we're all going to come together and do something that's causal and important. So I'm excited to have a planning session on that.
Yes.
Yeah. So last question, because we are running out of time.
Okay.
When I asked you to be on the show and I said it's Warrior Women in Business, what does that term mean to you? How does that make you feel?
Ooh. Well, I have to say, not only does the term resonate with me, and I absolutely love the woman who's in the corner.
Yeah, it's a little bit of me in there.
Of course it's you.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
totally you. It's obviously you. But what really hits home for me is I never thought of taking like an easy path. I was willing to be a pioneer, willing to go outside of my comfort zone. And there are lots of women that are doing that, and we need to inspire each other, or we need to inspire those who don't quite
I
have the
love that.
courage,
Actually.
right? And we
Yeah.
can. We can. So I identified right away. I loved the name. I absolutely loved it. And it's got, attraction, it's like magnetic for someone like me. And I'm glad that that's sort of the theme. That's who you are. That's who you're going to attract. And if we can inspire others who are a little, maybe not quite sure of themselves yet, let's empower
Yes.
them. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Any last 1 minute
Oh,
words or comment?
I
Although
love, thank you.
all the stuff's going to go in the show notes. So
Yeah. Yeah, well, I look forward to doing more together. And I certainly welcome anyone who has a growth mindset, who loves people, and who is willing to make a commitment to mastery. And I mean raising their self-mastery, honing in on their processes, and learning how to influence with integrity, integrity-based human influence. Those are the people that I would love to work with and love to help. And I have lots of shows coming up. I'm going to have a daily show come January 2nd, every day at 3 o'clock, where I'm putting
okay.
together 6 to 8 people with a theme. But the Heart of Influence always has Sean Callaghan and Bella Verita. I didn't even tell you about Sean. He is quite the warrior. All I will say is
Yes, he's a warrior.
2 top 100 jury verdicts, like an incredible nationally recognized litigator. And he's a speaker who has spoken internationally, Fortune 5 companies, National Investment Banking Association. He was our keynote a couple of years ago, but MasterCard, T-Mobile, Tony Robbins stage 19 times. It is easier to be on stage of the United Nations than it is to speak on Tony Robbins stage. And he's spoken on Tony
Oh,
Robbins
I know.
times.
It's one of my goals. And I
So,
get it.
and we can do that. We can
No,
do
let's
that.
do
We
it.
can talk about that offline, but the show
Yeah,
has
let's do
Sean
it.
Callaghan and Bella Verita. So the people I invite have this
So
great
cool.
benefit of not only having the connection, but seeing a master who can get 25 grand for a half-hour speaking engagement, and it's a free show. So
Love
come
it.
on.
That I love.
Yes, but there's legitimate, I only have so many slots in so many categories, so I would love to connect with people, and I'll give you my QR code that you can post with all of my other stuff. How's that?
Yes, of course. So we'll put everything into the show notes in the next 72 hours. But this has been really great. I mean, there's just not enough time to talk about so many things. How can you talk about professional development and business development in 35 minutes? You can't really. So I
So
definitely think that Andrea and I and other female leaders that I know and probably that she knows, we have to do something together. I think now is the time, no matter what happens in politics, that doesn't matter.
Right.
But I think now is the time, really, we have a fresh new year coming up. I think
Mhm.
this is really the time for female leaders to really come together and
100%.
actively do things that can support our communities, not just personal goals and personal impact. It's like where you're just one person in life, but more of the community and the world. And I'm just excited about the people that I get to interview on the show and meet in person. Remember, we had our cold, rainy day coffee. So
Loved it.
yes, I loved it. So look out for Andrea and I to do some things in the new year. Please reach out to Andrea. I'll be sharing all of her information. And just to cap off a couple of things that are coming up with Warrior Women in Business. Warrior Women in Business, we're really excited for 2025. I think it's going to be great. As Andrea mentioned, there's a lot of attraction around Warrior Women in Business. So although it's not my main business is JS Media. I feel it's my duty to really utilize this brand and this business to do something positive. So we're talking about doing more things to help particularly female entrepreneurs, and you could be a solopreneur, or a lot of the people that come to me are executives that have left a company or gotten downsized. Now they think, I want to start a business. So, you need help with that. You need legal help, you need marketing help, sales help, right? So that's that piece. And then female artists, and then women and families of need. We do a lot to raise money for different associations and causes, just like we did Friday night, where I was up till 3:30 in the morning at that event.
Wow.
No, but it was awesome. So please consider joining Warrior Women in Business to be involved with these things.
I joined.
She joined. She's amazing. And, if you have a unique and important story, I'm always willing to listen. But for me, my guests, you just have to have that unique nugget to stand out. So a lot of people write to me and it's just not the right, it's not the right fit, or it's not the right time. But if you're driving impact and you feel like you want to come together with others that are driving impact in a very authentic and real way, I'd love to hear from you. So that's Warrior Women in Business. Again, I'm Jasmine Sandler. I'm all over the internet, and Warrior Women in Business is all over the internet. We're growing. The membership is growing. We're supporting now, in 2025, getting into supporting schools. That's important to note. So if you're looking for an internship, do not be shy. If you're looking to bring in some type of education into the school, reach out. It starts with young people. So please reach out to Warrior Women in Business. And for fellow rock artists like me, do not forget the Women's Rock Fantasy Camp is December 5th through the 8th. Camp director is Britt Lightning from Vixen. She's an amazing person. She was episode guest 65. You could just dial back into that and learn all about what's happening. Use the code and jam out with Alita Ford. I mean, really, what a weekend. So with all that being said, I want to thank you again, Andrea, for all of this. So much great advice that we really appreciate, and making some of that stuff around securities law, meaningful and doable to some of the entrepreneurs that are just developing. It's really important things. So I thank you again for being on. And for all of you, anybody that's interested, please reach out to Warrior Women in Business. And with that, I'm going to sign off. Jasmine Sandler, your host from episode 67. Have a wonderful evening.
Take care.